Hello again, racing fans. Thanks for joining me for Commentator Smit's Comments, where I, of course, occasionally share snippets of news, do reviews, but more so share my views on some of the horses that I will be closely following as we head into the weekend's feature race action. Good to have you along, with all eyes now squarely on both the Western Cape and Highveld feature race seasons. Here in Cape Town, we are of course enjoying the build-up races to the big 5 Grade 1s that will be happening just before, during and after the festive season across summer, while on the Highveld the excitement is now mounting and the countdown is on to the big Summer Cup meeting that will be happening on the last Saturday of November. Speaking of Saturday, this week we have a double header of local action with Turffontein racing alongside Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, and on Sunday we head to the KZN capital for racing at Hollywoodbets Scottsville. Lots to look forward to with lots of betting opportunities, so make sure you've got enough funds available in your Tab 4 Racing online account. It would of course be remiss of me not to look back at last week. Here at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, we had a Fillies listed sprint, a listed race over ground, and of course a Grade 3 mile race that were the feature races on the card. The Laissez-Faire Stakes listed over 1100 meters. I guess one can safely say that Quintus Light was rewarded for consistency when she unsaddled in the winner's enclosure. The two horses that I was most interested in watching were of course Stiptilic and Whoa 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 from the stable of Brett Crawford. They both ran to expectation, and they certainly showed that they have a lot more to come, especially with the upcoming Fillies features that are still lying ahead across the next couple of months. The listed race over ground was the Wellington Stakes over 2,400 meters, and Baratheon, whichever way you prefer to pronounce it, went from start to finish to give Piet Botha his first feature race winner as a trainer. Well done to him, and it was so good to see him and also long-serving Cape Racing supporter Ron Karras do those post-race interviews. There was so much emotion. It was so good to see. They're a great bunch of guys. They're here week in, week out. What a wonderful partnership. Well done to all concerned. Piet Botha really has been churning out the winners, and in fact he's only got one runner on the card on Saturday. That is Swift Action, and that horse is not without a chance. In that same race, Salvatore Mundi and Rex Union show that they'll be competitive in distance races over the season, and it has to be said that the disappointment of the race was no doubt Bulgarian. Then the Grade 3 Cape Mile, we saw the return of champion Jet Dark, who was super impressive, coming from off the pace, picking them off one by one, and then pulling clear for victory. He certainly showed his well-being, and one can see he's on song for the 3rd year in a row to defend his crown in the Lormeron King's Plate come the first Saturday in January. In that same race, Silver Operator was as consistent, gutsy, and as honest as the day is long, finishing in second. But the two that I was most keen on seeing were Golden Ducat and Rascallion. They both ran on nicely in the closing stages to finish 3rd and 4th respectively, both coming back from lengthy layoffs, and they certainly gave us a clear sign that they will make their presence felt in whatever feature races they will be contesting over the next couple of weeks. Apart from all of that, the other big news on the day, of course, was the consistent return to the number 1 box for Team Snaith. They had 5 winners on the day. All in all, it's shaping up to be a fascinating Cape summer season. Lots to still look forward to. And if you find yourself anywhere near or in the vicinity of Kenilworth, or you're planning to visit us here in Cape Town over the festive season, make sure you include Hollywoodbets Kenilworth as part of your itinerary, because there's nothing more exhilarating than coming to see these thoroughbreds live in action on the track. Now, this coming Saturday here at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, we have 2 feature races on the card. The 150,000 Rand non-black type Bantry-based stakes to be run over 1,200 meters. This, in fact, is a new feature race that has been added to the program. And then there's, of course, the precursor to the Cape Fillies Guineas that will be run on the first Saturday in December, the 400,000 Rand Western Cape Fillies Championship Grade 2 to be run over 1,400 meters. But before I share my thoughts, sentiments and reasoning behind some of the horses that I will be following with keen interest, when I had a first glance at the card, remember last week I spoke about my little black book, and there were 2 horses that certainly draw my attention to them, particularly from the notes that I've made. The first one comes up race 3, number 11, Carriacou. Now, he's owned in partnership by my good friend Duncan Barry, who also bred him at Riverton Stud, and I had the pleasure of staying in Barry House about 3 weeks ago. And that's where I actually got to hear the story about how he and a few of his classmates of 79 got together to form this partnership. I thought Karaku was extremely unlucky last time out. He was left with so much to do in that work riders race. He was absolutely flying at the finish. He went down the shortest of short heads in a photo finish. With that run under the belt, he's certainly got match fitness on his side. I can tell you this much, he's going to enjoy the step up in trip just in the manner in which he finished off that race. And to me, he's one of the horses that certainly stands out as a banker on the day. The other horse comes up race 5, number 6, Sarki. Now she caught the eye first time out. Despite being slow away, she was running on nicely to finish next best of the rest, second on debut. With that run under the belt and also stepping up in trip, and with a natural improvement to come, I'm expecting her to be much closer to the action when they hit the winning line. So those two are more than likely going to be my double play on the day. But it is races 7 and 8 that we are going to be concentrating on, the two feature races on the program. Race 7 being the non-black type Bantry-based stakes over 1,200 meters. A full field of 16 runners will face the starter. And if you look beyond the obvious, it becomes extremely competitive. But more so, it's one of those races that I'll be keeping a very watchful eye on a number of runners. Those include the likes of 2 Universal, who returns from a lengthy layoff. We last saw him in action in the Cape Derby when he was second behind Pomp and Power, with whom he renews rivalry today. If not in need of the run, and he goes up handy as he normally races, I think he could make his presence felt. 3 Comedy Dung is another one that I'm keen to see back on the track. He makes his seasonal debut. He was last seen in the Champions Cup. That form line was, of course, franked last week by Jet Dark. And what's interesting is if you look at his form, he's unbeaten 2 from 2 over the course and distance. I've always been a fan, and I reckon we can expect a good run from him. 5 Good Travellers, another one that I'm keen on seeing. He brings Grade 1 sprint form into the race. He last ran in the Mercury Sprint, and if not, he needed the run, he could make his presence felt. There's Rio Carrari, classy sprinter. He returns also from a lengthy layoff. We know that he will give his customary kick in the closing stages. Ideally course and distance suited, cannot be ignored. And then there's the naughty boy, number 10, Pomp and Power. Extremely temperamental. In fact, you will remember that a few weeks ago he was supposed to make his seasonal debut at Durbanville, but he was withdrawn at the start for being intractable. That means he would have had to be reschooled, he would have had to be passed through the pens again, and he will no doubt come out fresh. And if he settles, anything is possible. So those are the horses that I'm keen on watching, making a note of them, particularly with an eye on the future. However, there is one horse to me that stands out in this race, and that's number 11, Triple Fortune. He won the Hollywood Bets Match'em, albeit in the boardroom, as a result of the outcome of an objection. He's having his 3rd run after rest. He's going for a hat-trick of wins. His trainer-jockey combination is in devastating form. And if one looks at his course and distance record, he's won once, he's finished twice from 3 starts. He'll be cherry ripe for the occasion. And to me, the horse that beats Triple Fortune will more than likely win the Bantry-based stakes. So it's one of 2 ways you need to look at this. You either go short, or you need to go wide, you need to look for a bit of value, and you also need to take all those variables into account. This to me is an ideal race in which to play those swingers, trifectas and quartets. Doesn't get any easier as we move to the 8th race on the card, the Grade 2 Western Cape Fillies Championship over 1,400 meters. A field of 13 runners will face the starter, and here you need at least 4 or 5 to safely see you through in the exotics. The first one that certainly springs out at you is number 3, Ciao Bella. She's bred in the purple. She was an easy winner last time out over 1,250 meters at Hollywood Bets Durbanville. She beat Quintus Light, who subsequently has come out and franked that form in the laissez-faire last week. I think we can once again expect a bold performance from Ciao Bella. She steps up in trip, and she's definitely one for the shortlist. Then there's a couple that's making a renewing rivalry in this race. 5 Hold My Hand, 8 Gimmy's Lassie, 11 Who Do You Love, and 13 Golden Hostess are the ones that also need to be taken into account. Hold My Hand is having her 2nd run after rest. She was, of course, just behind 13 Golden Hostess last time that they met. She was pipped into 2nd after she had moved up on the inside rail, so she will be right there when it matters most. 13 Golden Hostess came from somewhere back, was absolutely eating up the ground in the closing stages. And it's interesting that Alda de Meyer had chosen to ride her ahead of his stable companions. And 11, Who Do You Love, is the other one from the stable of Candice Bass Robinson that needs to be included. She was third in that race. So that's another one for the shortlist. In fact, I think Candice Bass Robinson will more than likely have the biggest say as far as the outcome of this race is concerned, because there's 8 Gimme's Lassie as well, a filly who's on the up. She's going for 3 in a row, and she's out of the services of Keegan de Mello in the saddle. Her last form line has been Frank by Act Naturally, who has subsequently come out and won. She's 1 from 1 over the course and distance, so you can see there are plenty with chances in this year's Western Cape Fillies Championship, a race that I'm not going to stick my neck out and tip an outright winner. It's a tricky race that you need to contend with, but the one thing that we can be rest assured about is that the result of this race will give us a good insight into what possibly could happen come the first Saturday in December with the running of the Cape Fillies Guineas. The exotics should once again pay handsomely, and if you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance. Make sure you get those bets on timelessly. Get on via your Tab for Racing account. It is quick, it's easy and convenient from wherever you are. We are in for another thrilling weekend's racing. Lots of feature race action to look forward to. I'm Ravon Smit. I'll be in the hot seat, and I look forward to seeing you at the races.